There are moments in every life when the mirror becomes more than glass. It becomes a doorway into what you are, what you pretend to be, and what you fear you might become. Your appearance is not just an arrangement of features. It is the physical echo of your inner world, the symbolic expression of the forces shaping you from within. To become addicted to your appearance is not vanity. It is vigilance. It is the disciplined observation of the self you are constantly creating. Every face tells the truth eventually. Even the truths we try to hide have a way of surfacing in our posture, our eyes, our skin, our gestures. When you stand before your reflection, you are facing the history of your decisions, the nights you chose comfort instead of progress, the habits that built or broke you, the emotions you swallowed, the dreams you pursued, and the ones you abandoned. The body remembers everything, and it exposes everything. If you learn to read yourself with honesty, you will discover that your appearance is not separate from your identity. It is your identity made visible. To be addicted to your appearance means to study yourself with the same intensity you would study a powerful opponent. It is to recognize that your physical form is a direct manifestation of your psychological state. Discipline hardens the gaze. Purpose straightens the spine. Clarity sharpens the features. Chaos softens the will. Indecision dulls the expression. When you neglect your appearance, you are not neglecting aesthetics. You are neglecting the very container that carries your potential into the world. Every transformation begins in the psyche long before it becomes visible. But once it becomes visible, you must protect it with the same fierceness that a warrior protects his armor. Your appearance is the first symbol of your intent. It communicates before you speak. It influences how you move, how you think, how you act, and how the world responds to you. Those who treat their physical self with indifference often treat their inner self with the same neglect. But those who tend to their appearance with devotion tend also to their inner life with discipline. There is no separation. The mirror does not lie. This addiction is not rooted in ego. It is rooted in awareness. It is the recognition that your outer form is the altar upon which your inner strength is displayed. When you change your appearance with purpose, training your body, refining your style, sharpening your presence, you are signaling to the unconscious mind that you are no longer willing to live as a passive observer of your own life. You are stepping into authorship. You are declaring a psychological revolution. Become addicted to the process of refining yourself. The grooming of your physical self becomes a ritual of self-respect. The improvement of your posture becomes a declaration of inner order. The cultivation of your style becomes a symbolic language of who you are becoming. The pursuit of a stronger, more defined, more disciplined physical presence become inseparable from the pursuit of a stronger, more defined, more disciplined spirit. If you feel resistance, it is because there are parts of you that fear exposure. The neglected self fears the mirror. The unhealed self avoids the reflection. But the courageous self walks directly toward it, not to admire, but to understand, to confront, to integrate, to transform. When you become addicted to your appearance, you are really becoming addicted to accountability, because the mirror will always show you exactly where you stand. Your appearance is a battlefield where the unconscious reveals itself. If you treat it casually, it will betray you. But if you treat it with intention, it will empower you. Let your physical form become a symbol of your depth, your discipline, your resilience. Let it be proof that you do not merely dream of growth, you embody it. Do not chase perfection. Chase alignment. Chase the version of yourself whose presence commands attention, not through arrogance, but through authenticity, through the unmistakable aura of someone who has wrestled with their own shadows and emerged more whole. Become addicted to your appearance because your appearance is the story you tell without words, and the world is always listening. Your appearance is the physical reflection of your inner psychological state, a silent language that speaks long before you have the chance to arrange a single word. Every aspect of how you present yourself carries traces of your inner world, shaped by decisions, habits, emotions, and the unseen forces within you. People often imagine appearance as something superficial, as if the body were merely a shell to be decorated or neglected according to convenience. But, in truth, it is the most immediate and undeniable expression of your inner condition. The mind leaves signatures on the body in ways that cannot be hidden. Stress alters the tone of your skin and the tension in your muscles. Confidence reshapes your posture and sharpens the angle of your gaze. Purpose adds structure to your movements, while confusion scatters them. Even the smallest changes in your emotional landscape ripple outward and imprint themselves on the way you stand, breathe, walk, and occupy space. Your appearance is not just a consequence of what you are. It is a signal of what you are becoming. And this is why studying it with sincerity becomes a gateway into profound self-understanding. If you look closely, the body reveals the stories that the conscious mind tries to ignore. A slouched posture may appear harmless on the surface, yet it reflects an inner narrative of burden or uncertainty. Tight jaw muscles reveal unspoken anger or suppressed frustration. A restless gaze reflects internal conflict, while stillness of the eyes suggests integration and clarity. When you observe your appearance from this deeper psychological lens, you begin to recognize the subtle dialogue between the conscious self and the unconscious forces directing so much of your behavior. You start to see that appearance is not a costume but a consequence, not an accessory but a manifestation of the psyche's ongoing evolution. It becomes impossible to dismiss or overlook because it is constantly telling the truth, and the truth is often revealing in ways that words cannot achieve. People spend enormous amounts of time trying to understand themselves through thought alone, analyzing feelings, dissecting motives, striving to make sense of inner tensions, yet they forget that the body is the most honest journal they own. It records everything. It never lies. You may convince your mind that you are disciplined, but the mirror will reveal whether that discipline is real or imagined. You may tell yourself that you are confident, but your eyes will show whether that confidence is grounded or fragile. You may claim that you are motivated, driven, or resilient, but your face, your stance, your energy, and your physical presence will display the real state of your inner landscape. This is why becoming attentive to your appearance is not vanity, but a form of self-inquiry. It is a method of studying your inner condition through its outer expression, allowing you to detect the psychological patterns shaping your life long before they manifest in your decisions. When you begin to see appearance through this deeper, symbolic lens, you realize that every part of your physical presence carries meaning. The way you dress becomes an unconscious broadcast of how you perceive your role in the world. Neglect often reveals inner conflict or unresolved emotions. Carefulness suggests clarity and intention. Sharpness in your eyes may indicate alignment with purpose, while dullness may reflect exhaustion or emotional disconnection. Nothing is random because the psyche communicates through symbols, and the body is its largest symbol. When you refine your appearance, you don't just change how others see you, you change how you see yourself, which then changes how you behave, think, and interact with your environment. This is why transforming your outer form often becomes the catalyst for transforming your inner world, as if the psyche responds to the message that you are reorganizing yourself for something greater. To understand appearance on this level is to recognize that every improvement you make externally sends a powerful message internally. When you discipline your physical form through intentional habits like grooming, training, posture work, or style refinement, you're not merely performing aesthetic rituals, you're conducting psychological rituals. You are training your unconscious to accept a higher standard of identity. You are signaling that you refuse to live in disorganization, confusion, or emotional stagnation. The body starts to align with the expectations you place upon it, and in turn, the psyche begins to mirror that alignment. It's a reciprocal transformation. Inner order creates outer order, and outer order reinforces inner order, forming a loop of continuous improvement. This is why people who take responsibility for their appearance often unlock new levels of discipline, confidence, and clarity, because they are teaching their psyche to rise to a standard rather than fall to a habit. If you watch someone who has neglected themselves for months or years, you will not only see physical decline, you will see a deeper psychological surrender. The appearance reflects a story of avoidance, withdrawal, or surrender to inner chaos. On the other hand, someone who has cultivated their appearance with intention carries an energy that reveals focus, vitality, psychological resilience, and an underlying sense of personal responsibility. The difference between the two is not just cosmetic, it is existential. It reveals whether someone is living reactively or deliberately, whether they are guided by unconscious impulses or conscious identity. Studying your appearance with this understanding becomes a powerful diagnostic tool for your inner life. Instead of asking, "How do I look?" you begin asking, "What does my appearance reveal about my inner state? What does it say about my habits, my strength, my clarity, my wounds, my discipline, my direction?" Appearance becomes a map, and you learn to read it with growing precision. The more you pay attention to the connection between your inner world and your outer expression, the more you realize that improving your appearance is not about achieving perfection but about achieving coherence. It is about ensuring that who you are internally is accurately reflected in how you present yourself physically. When appearance and identity are aligned, you move through the world with a silent authority that does not need to announce itself. There is harmony between the visible and the invisible aspects of your being, and this harmony radiates through everything you do. It becomes a form of psychological integrity, a way of living where nothing is hidden, nothing is fragmented, and nothing is contradicted within you. Your appearance becomes a living symbol of your inner truth, shaped by discipline, intention, and self-awareness. And it continues evolving as you evolve. The mirror becomes a tool of self-awareness, revealing your discipline or lack of it. Because the moment you face your reflection, you are not simply observing a body, you are confronting an entire psychological landscape made visible. People think mirrors only show surface details, but in reality they are instruments of truth, exposing the internal patterns that shape your existence. When you stand before the glass, you are meeting the version of yourself that's been sculpted by every habit, every choice, every emotion, every moment of discipline, and every moment of weakness. The mirror does not care about the stories you tell yourself. It does not care about your excuses or your intentions. It does not respond to the way you imagine yourself to be. It only reflects what has actually been lived. That is why many people avoid looking closely, because the mirror forces an encounter with the reality they have been avoiding within themselves. To treat the mirror as a tool for self-awareness means to approach it with the courage to see what is truly there rather than what you wish were there. It is to recognize that your physical condition, your posture, your gaze, your energy, and even the subtle expression that rest on your face all reveal the psychological forces that are directing your life from the shadows. When you study your reflection honestly, you begin to observe the story of your discipline written in the details. The tone of your muscles tells you how often you have chosen effort over comfort. The clarity of your eyes reveals whether your mind is aligned or clouded. The structure of your face indicates whether you have been living with intention or drifting under the weight of unconscious habits. Every part of your appearance becomes a symbol that communicates something meaningful about your inner state, and it becomes impossible to hide from yourself. Once you learn how to interpret these symbols, the mirror exposes the tension between what you are and what you could be. When you see the signs of neglect, fatigue etched into your expression, softness replacing strength, slouched posture signaling psychological heaviness, you are seeing the visible consequences of invisible choices. These physical cues become a map guiding you toward the deeper issues within you. Neglect in the mirror often reflects neglect in life: dreams postponed, discipline abandoned, emotional wounds ignored, and responsibilities carried without clarity. On the other hand, when you see evidence of discipline, sharpened eyes, a firm stance, a body that reflects effort, you are witnessing the manifestation of inner order. The inner world and the outer world are always in dialogue, and the mirror captures that dialogue in real time, showing you whether your actions have aligned with your intentions or whether your intentions have remained unfulfilled. Many people live disconnected from themselves because they avoid the discomfort of truly seeing. They stand in front of the mirror only long enough to perform functional tasks, never long enough to observe the psychological truth it reveals. But when you begin using the mirror as a tool rather than an ornament, you transform the simple act of looking into a form of meditation. You start noticing the subtleties of your presence, the way stress tightens the muscles around your eyes, the way sadness softens your mouth, the way confidence lifts your chin, the way purpose straightens your shoulders. These details become clues, pointing toward patterns of thought and behavior that shape your life without your awareness. The mirror becomes a portal into the unconscious, a place where you can see the reflection of psychological forces that rarely express themselves in words. When you commit to self-awareness through the mirror, you begin identifying the discrepancies between your ideal self and your actual self. This discrepancy is not something to fear, it is something to work with. It becomes the source of motivation for transformation. The mirror shows you where discipline has been lacking, not to shame you but to guide you. It reveals where you have compromised your potential and where you are capable of reclaiming it. In this way, the mirror becomes a silent mentor, always presenting you with the truth, always inviting you to step into the person you are capable of becoming. It challenges you to match your inner standards with outer evidence, creating a cycle of accountability that strengthens both the body and the psyche. The more you observe yourself, the more you start to understand the relationship between discipline and identity. Discipline is not merely an external practice. It is a psychological structure that shapes how you perceive yourself. When you see signs of discipline reflected back at you, your self-image strengthens. You feel capable, competent, aligned. On the other hand, when you see signs of neglect, your self-image weakens, and you feel the internal conflict that arises from living out of alignment with your own values. The mirror becomes a measurement of this alignment, constantly revealing the gap between who you are and who you are becoming. Once you learn to use it consciously, you can no longer lie to yourself about your effort, your habits, or your direction, because the physical evidence is always there before your eyes. This is why the mirror becomes such a powerful psychological tool. It bypasses your rationalizations and cuts directly into the truth of your lived experience. It forces you to confront the consequences of your choices without distortion. It makes visible the patterns that you might otherwise overlook, such as how your body stores emotional tension, how your face reflects unresolved conflict, or how your energy shifts depending on the level of discipline you have applied to your life. This process of observation becomes a form of self-study, through which you begin to decode the symbolic language of the body. You learn that the physical and psychological are inseparable, that every external detail is a manifestation of an internal force, and that the mirror is the bridge between these two dimensions when used with intention. The mirror can awaken a deeper sense of responsibility within you. You begin taking ownership of what you see, not with shame but with clarity. You understand that your appearance is not something that happens to you but something you participate in creating. Every disciplined action leaves a mark on your presence, and every moment of inertia does the same. This realization empowers you because it reveals that transformation is not mysterious or random. It is a direct consequence of how consciously you are living. The mirror becomes the evidence of that consciousness, reflecting back the reality of your effort, your focus, your emotional state, and your psychological development. It becomes impossible to ignore the truth once you have learned to read it in your own reflection in this way. The mirror becomes a daily checkpoint, a ritual of accountability that keeps you connected to your inner state. You begin to recognize when you are slipping, not because someone tells you, but because you see it in the reflection of your own discipline. You begin to recognize when you are aligned, because your posture, your expression, and your presence radiate that alignment. The mirror no longer feels like a judge, but like a compass, guiding you toward inner integrity and outer coherence. You begin to understand that self-awareness is not an abstract idea, but a physical experience, expressed through every part of your appearance. The mirror becomes a tool through which you build a deeper, more honest relationship with yourself, a relationship grounded in truth, discipline, and the ongoing commitment to becoming a more aligned version of who you know you can be. Refining your appearance strengthens your identity and reinforces your inner transformation, because the process of shaping your outer form is inseparable from the process of shaping the self that lives beneath the surface. Every deliberate action you take toward improving how you present yourself becomes a symbolic gesture toward becoming someone more disciplined, more aware, and more aligned with the person you aspire to be. Your appearance is not a separate entity from your identity. It is the physical manifestation of it. When you refine your appearance, you are not simply polishing a surface, you are reorganizing the psychological patterns that determine how you think, act, and perceive yourself. This is why even small changes in how you carry yourself can trigger profound shifts in your internal world. The psyche responds to symbols, and your appearance is one of the most powerful symbols. You possess many. People underestimate the psychological weight of their appearance. They think it is something to be taken lightly, something that belongs to the realm of vanity or social expectation. But in truth, it is one of the deepest expressions of your relationship with yourself. When you refine your appearance with intention, you are sending a message to your unconscious mind that you value yourself, that you respect yourself, and that you are willing to take responsibility for the image you project into the world. This act strengthens identity because identity thrives on consistency and clarity. The more consistent you become in your habits of self-presentation, the clearer your inner image becomes. You begin to feel the difference between the person you used to be and the person you are becoming. And this contrast fuels further transformation. Refinement becomes a ritual of self-alignment, a daily reminder that you are committed to growth. Physical refinement creates psychological momentum. When you see evidence of your effort reflected in your appearance, you experience a sense of progress that reinforces your belief in your ability to change. This belief is crucial, because transformation does not happen in one moment. It happens through sustained patterns of behavior that gradually reshape your identity. Each time you choose discipline over neglect, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with self-respect and responsibility. Each time you present yourself with intention, you reinforce the internal narrative that you are someone worthy of effort. The improvements you see in the mirror become proof that your inner transformation is real, not imagined. This proof motivates you to push further, forming a positive psychological cycle where inner change fuels outer change. And outer change fuels inner change. Refining your appearance also gives structure to your identity. Many people feel lost, confused, or uncertain about who they are because their identity lacks form. Identity is not just a collection of thoughts or beliefs, it is a structure. And structures need visible expression to become stable. When you refine your appearance, you are giving shape to your inner world. You create a physical anchor for who you are becoming. The way you dress, groom, move, and carry yourself all contribute to this structure. They signal to your unconscious mind that you are organizing your life, that you are choosing order over chaos, clarity over confusion. This organization strengthens your identity by giving it boundaries and contours. You begin to recognize yourself not just intellectually but visually, emotionally, and energetically. As you refine your appearance, you also refine your relationship with discipline. Discipline is not merely a behavior, it is a psychological identity. When you practice discipline regularly in the realm of appearance, it spills into other areas of your life. You become more aware of how your habits shape your results. You begin noticing how small acts of self-maintenance cultivate larger patterns of self-respect. You discover that discipline is not harsh or restrictive but empowering, because it gives you the ability to influence your own evolution. The more disciplined you become in refining your appearance, the more disciplined you become in pursuing your goals, managing your emotions, and directing your energy. Appearance becomes the training ground for broader transformation. Refinement also deepens your sense of presence. When you take responsibility for your appearance, you carry yourself differently. Your movements become intentional, your posture straightens, and your eyes gain a quiet confidence born from alignment. This presence communicates who you are without words. It influences how others respond to you, but more importantly, it influences how you respond to yourself. Presence is not something you can fake. It is the natural result of inner order reflected outward. When your appearance becomes an expression of your inner coherence, you move through the world with a sense of authenticity that strengthens your identity even further. You no longer feel fragmented or inconsistent because your inner self and your outer expression are aligned. Refining your appearance also reshapes your emotional landscape. Your emotional state is deeply connected to how you perceive yourself. When you feel that your appearance reflects your values, your effort, and your growth, your emotions stabilize. You feel more grounded, more centered, more capable of handling challenges. On the other hand, when your appearance contradicts your inner aspirations, emotional dissonance arises. You feel the tension of living out of alignment with yourself. This is why refining your appearance can be such a powerful emotional regulator. It reduces the gap between your internal ideals and your external reality, creating harmony within your psyche. This harmony strengthens identity by giving you a consistent emotional foundation upon which to build your life. Your appearance becomes a form of self-communication. Every time you look at yourself, you receive messages from your unconscious mind about who you are becoming. When your appearance reflects growth, discipline, and clarity, these messages strengthen your sense of identity. They remind you of your commitment to yourself. They reinforce the idea that you are capable of transformation. Over time, these messages accumulate and reshape your self-perception. You begin to see yourself not as someone who hopes to change, but as someone who is changing. This shift in perception is crucial because transformation is sustained not by effort alone, but by identity. The stronger your identity becomes, the more naturally you act in alignment with it. Refining your appearance also helps integrate the different parts of your psyche. Many people live fragmented lives where their thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and appearance are disconnected from one another. This fragmentation creates internal conflict and weakens identity. But when you refine your appearance with intention, you begin drawing these fragments together. Your outer form becomes a unifying symbol that ties your inner parts into a coherent whole. The disciplined part of you sees evidence of its effort. The insecure part of you finds strength in the improvements. The ambitious part of you feels validated. The unconscious part of you receives a stable symbol to organize around. Integration strengthens identity because it transforms you from a scattered collection of impulses into a unified individual with direction and presence. In the end, Refining your appearance becomes a psychological practice, a method of reinforcing your inner transformation through deliberate external action. It becomes a ritual that binds your aspirational self to your lived reality, ensuring that your inner growth does not remain abstract or hidden. Your appearance becomes a living record of your evolution, a visible declaration of your identity in motion, shaping the person you are becoming with every disciplined choice you make. Becoming addicted to your appearance means becoming addicted to accountability and alignment, because your appearance is not simply something you show to the world. It is something you reveal to yourself. When you look at your reflection, you are not observing a surface, you are observing the consequence of your habits, the architecture of your discipline, and the expression of your inner order. To become addicted to your appearance means to develop an unwavering commitment to monitoring these consequences, to studying the relationship between who you say you are and who you have actually become. It is an addiction not to vanity but to truth. The mirror becomes a constant reminder that your life is shaped not by your intentions but by your actions, and this reminder cultivates an unbreakable link between your inner standards and your outer reality. Accountability begins the moment you stop viewing your appearance as something accidental and start seeing it as something you actively create. Every detail on your face, every line of your posture, every sign of vitality or fatigue, every expression you unconsciously hold is an imprint of the choices you have made. When you become addicted to your appearance, you are choosing to confront these imprints daily. You are choosing not to hide from yourself. This daily confrontation forces you to become more responsible for your habits because you can no longer escape the physical evidence of them. The mirror becomes a ledger, unbiased, unfiltered, unmerciful in its honesty. It will not soften the truth to protect your feelings, and it will not exaggerate to flatter your ego. It presents the reality you have built, and by facing it consistently, you learn the discipline of true accountability. This addiction also nurtures alignment, because when the inner self and outer self begin to reflect each other with increasing accuracy, a deep sense of congruence begins to form within you. People often suffer from internal conflict because their external life contradicts their internal aspirations. They carry ambitions in their mind, but express neglect through their appearance. They imagine discipline but display inconsistency. They claim confidence but carry themselves like someone uncertain. This gap between the imagined self and the expressed self creates psychological dissonance. But when you become devoted to refining your appearance, you begin closing this gap. You start bringing your outer form into harmony with your inner ideals. And this harmony creates a sense of alignment that stabilizes your identity. You begin to trust yourself more, because you see the evidence of your own evolution reflect back at you. Addiction in this context does not weaken you, it strengthens you. It becomes a ritual, a self-observation that protects you from drifting into unconscious patterns. Many people fall into habits they never notice: slouching, neglecting their posture, wearing expression that reflects stress rather than intention, allowing fatigue to accumulate without recognition. They become strangers to their own appearance because they are disconnected from themselves. But when you return to the mirror daily with the purpose of self-study, you cultivate a relationship with your reflection that keeps you grounded in awareness. You begin recognizing when you are slipping, when your energy is low, when your habits are inconsistent, and when your discipline is fading. You catch these changes early because you are no longer living blindly. This constant monitoring becomes the source of your accountability, and accountability becomes the bridge to alignment. This addiction also reveals how much your appearance influences your psychology. When you present yourself with care, precision, and intention, you feel the internal shift immediately. You stand taller not just physically but psychologically. You carry yourself with more clarity, and your thinking becomes sharper. Small adjustments in your appearance influence the way you interpret your environment and the way you respond to challenges. When you look disciplined, you behave disciplined. When you look focused, you think with greater focus. The appearance you refine becomes the identity you inhabit, and the identity you inhabit becomes the life you build. This is why becoming addicted to your appearance becomes synonymous with becoming addicted to alignment. You continuously shape the self you must live with, and in doing so, you shape the path you walk. There is also a deeper psychological layer to this addiction. When you refine your appearance, you are not just displaying discipline, you are declaring it to yourself. The unconscious mind responds powerfully to symbols, and your body is the most immediate symbol you possess. When your appearance expresses strength, it signals to your unconscious that you are capable. When it expresses order, it signals clarity. When it expresses vitality, It signals possibility. Over time, your unconscious begins organizing itself around these symbols, aligning your behaviors, thoughts, and emotions with the person you appear to be. This alignment is not superficial, it is structural. You rebuild your inner world by shaping your outer one. This is why this addiction becomes transformative. It binds your psychological development to your physical self-expression. Becoming addicted to your appearance also forces you to embrace responsibility for your emotional state. The face you see in the mirror is not only shaped by discipline but also by unresolved feelings, internal conflicts, or unprocessed experiences. The tension around your eyes might reveal stress. The heaviness in your expression might reveal emotional fatigue. The posture you hold might reveal burdens you have not acknowledged. When you become committed to reading these signals, you stop ignoring your internal landscape. You begin taking responsibility not just for how you look but for how you feel. This type of accountability deepens your self-awareness and strengthens your emotional intelligence. You learn to adjust not only your physical habits but your inner structures, aligning your emotional world with the physical presence you seek to express in this way. Your appearance becomes a psychological compass. Every time you look at yourself, you receive direction. Are you aligned or misaligned? Are you growing or regressing? Are you living intentionally or drifting unconsciously? Or appearance answers these questions without words. When you develop an addiction to studying these answers, you cultivate a life governed by clarity rather than denial. You learn to act before problems grow, to correct habits before they weaken you, and to adjust your direction before you lose your way. Accountability becomes effortless because it is woven into your daily ritual. And alignment becomes natural because you are constantly guiding yourself back to your center at its deepest level. Becoming addicted to your appearance is about becoming addicted to witnessing your own evolution. It is the desire to see yourself becoming stronger, clearer, more intentional, more refined. It is the hunger to watch your identity take shape through your actions. It is the commitment to ensuring that who you appear to be is a true reflection of who you are becoming. It is the devotion to maintaining harmony between the invisible world of your thoughts and the visible world of your presence. This addiction becomes a way of living where you refuse to abandon yourself, where you refuse to lie to yourself, where you refuse to drift away from who you know you can be. It becomes a lifelong practice of returning to the mirror not to admire the surface, but to honor the truth, to honor the effort, and to honor the person unfolding within you.